Hello, I am Aaron Whittenberger. I'm the Vice President of Professional Development for the Bluegrass IIBA chapter. Our topic today is business analysis, performance monitoring, and improvement. Now, the knowledge area in a guide to the business analysis body of knowledge, or BABAC guide, that this falls under is business analysis planning and monitoring. Of course, this is the monitoring piece. So in general, a business analyst, whatever your task, your change initiative may be, whether it's working a project, whether it's assessing the value of projects, assessing strategic value for the organization, process analysis, business intelligence analysis, whatever your task may be. In general, what a business analyst will do is produce a plan of attack on that task. What are your tasks that you are going to do? What techniques will you use? What stakeholders will be involved? So first you put together a plan, then you execute on that plan, and during this entire process you should be monitoring performance and then take a review at stages within your task or at the end, and look for areas where you can improve your performance. Now, in my 30-year career, I have been in many organizations. I've been a business analyst, I've been a consultant, about 17 years of business analysis experience, 15 years as a consultant, and I've been in many organizations. I've seen the many ways that organizations organize or structure their business analysis team, from decentralized, where the business analysts report to a team or manager and there are no interconnections between those teams and managers, to a centralized, where the business analysis team is centralized in its own. There is a connection within the team, and those services of those business analysts are farmed out, if you wish, to the business units and the other business teams within the organizations, to seeing a community of practice and a business analysis center of excellence. So I've seen them all, and no matter what type of structure your organization has, business analysis performance monitoring should be done both at the practice level or the enterprise level, where it's assessed for the entire skill sets and performance of the entire practice, all business analysts within the organization, as well as each individual business analyst can do performance monitoring and looking for areas of improvement themselves. So what I really wanted to talk about today is if your organization does not do performance monitoring, if they do not do any kind of assessments or help in any way of helping the business analyst get better at what they do, and that, what can you do as the individual business analyst to look at your performance and look for areas of improvement for the next task, the next change initiative that you take on. So one of the key areas, I think, in starting to look at business analysis performance is to derive what are those key performance indicators that are important to the organizations. So what is important to the organization for their business analysts to be doing? These would be your key performance indicators, and this should definitely be part of your review, your performance assessment, and looking for areas of improvement. Then normally, I would say timely performance is always key on everybody's mind. So I have actually created a template for myself, and I do on every project and every change initiative that I take on, and look at the way I performed, and I do this at stage gates. So as a project moves into the next phase of the project, from initiation to analysis to design to construction. At each phase gate, I take an assessment. How did I do in that phase of the project? And where are the areas that I could have improved? So, in each one of those phases in that, and throughout the project, business analysts will have tasks to do on the project schedule. So you take those project schedules that have start and end dates in that, then you look at what were your actual start and end dates versus the project schedule estimated start and end dates. Were you timely in your performance? Did you get the job done on a timely basis? 1 or 2 days late is okay. 4 or 5 weeks late is an issue you may have to look at, as how could you have made that more timely. I think another area that you want to put in any kind of assessment is any kind of feedback. And I think every business analyst needs some kind of feedback loop. Get from your stakeholders what they feel you have performed at, their impressions and expectations that may be much different than yours. And the project managers might be much different than the business team, than the developers, than the QA team participants. So get all of your stakeholders, or a good sample of them. Don't always just get it from the project manager, but always have some type of feedback. If the organization doesn't provide that for you, then get it yourself. And it may be you send out a survey, whether that's an email or you set up a small survey in SurveyMonkey, send that to your stakeholders, just asking them if the techniques and the things that you did during the project, if the models and the diagrams that you used during the techniques made sense and were easy to understand for them. That kind of feedback is very important to improving your performance, and what you may think that the stakeholders understood, and that may not be true as to what they really understood. And it's a good way to make sure that all your stakeholders are on the same page when it comes to looking at diagrams, when doing assessments, during the project and that. So those are a couple of areas that you should definitely be looking at. And if you do have a community practice or a BA Center of Excellence, then they probably are talking about other areas that are important and to the organization, to the practice of business analysis within that organization, that should be on your assessment. If you have a centralized team that really doesn't have a community of practice, and the difference between that, I would say, if you have a centralized team but there's no real education for business analysts going on within the organization. So you're centralized, you all report to one manager or a group of managers possibly. You don't report to several different managers within the organization, then you are centralized. But if there's no real education going on for the business analysts, if there's no teaching, if there's no standards of, and there may be standards within your centralized team and that, but if there's no real teaching and continuous education working toward continuous performance of your business analysts, then you have a centralized team, but you don't really have a community of practice or a center of excellence. Those communities of practices and center of excellences always have continuing education going on, continuing training, whether internal or external resources are used for that training, but there's always continuous training going on for their business analysts. They're always looking to improve them, and the standards, make sure they're adhering to standards and of how they want business analysis performed within the organization. And they really strive for making sure that business analysis is performed evenly throughout the organization, no matter which business unit you may go work with. That business analysis always performed very levelly throughout the organization, whether it's accounting or one other business unit and that you're going to go work for. It's always delivered in the same way. Not saying that it's always the same techniques that are used and always the same models and diagrams and such that are used, but the level of competence and that which business analysis is performed is very much the same, no matter what business organization or business team within the organization you are going to work with. So I do encourage you that if your organization does not provide to help you improve, and they are not monitoring and they are not providing that feedback loop, then you develop it yourself. Like I said, whether through that survey, through an email, just asking and that, to the very informal, take an opportunity. If you stop somebody or somebody that you're working with is a business person or the project manager, stops you in the hallway and wants to ask a question, take that opportunity to get 1 or 2 questions in about your performance. How am I doing? Did you like that technique? Do you think everybody's now on the same page concerning that particular issue or that? Do you think they like that particular prototype or use case that we used? Some very simple questions to get some very generalized feedback is what you would get during that informal passing in the hall type feedback loop. You may bring in your managers and ask them what kind of feedback are they hearing about your performance, if they're hearing any at all. And so it is important to understand, first of all, what are those key performance indicators that the organization feels are important. And again, you will know that more if you have a community of practice or a center of excellence, or maybe even a centralized business analysis team within the organization. And if the organization doesn't provide that, have a talk with your manager, find out what's important to them and what kind of performance indicators you will be assessed on during your annual performance reviews. So what is important, what is necessary for you to get to that next step, that next level of promotion. And those will be key performance indicators. Also, feedback loop, very important for any business analyst to know how they're doing. You don't operate in a silo. You have to collaborate with others, and ensuring that you're effective at collaboration and facilitation and negotiation is very important. So getting feedback at how well you are doing those activities is very important, and that should be in your assessment review. So again, if the organization does not provide you a template for a business analysis performance assessment or review, then create one yourself. In those things, how timely was your performance? What other tasks did you do that were not on the project schedule? What was the feedback from all stakeholders, business team, the IT team, the technical team, your project managers, your manager, directors of the organization. You can get it from anywhere. Get the feedback and put that all down on paper. Just having it in your brain is not conducive. You will lose it over time in that. When you go to your next assessment, you can pull out a document that shows your assessment and shows where those weaknesses were, things that you did not do, whether it was not timely, whether the feedback was a little negative, was if you may have been on time in the schedule, but your stakeholders say things seem to be moving slow and it took a while to gear up or there was duplication within the things that you were doing. We went over this time and time again, maybe some of your feedback. That's the kind of things that you want to remove from your feedback in the next project. So you can look at, when you're planning the next activity, look at the feedback from the previous one and the previous two, and say, where were the areas of improvement that I could have been better? What are my stakeholders feeling that I can change something to make that feedback better? And that for my next assessment. And no matter how good you get at this, and if you've done it 5, 10 times and that, you never stop, because one thing of a business analyst, one of their goals should always be continuous improvement, which means you're not only doing the plan, you're creating your business analysis plan at the beginning, you're developing that plan as to how you're going to approach this task, this change initiative that you now have underneath you to do. And then you work that plan, but as I said, throughout, not just at the end. If at the end is the best you can do, then that's what you do. But I would say look at it at the end, because if you do it only at the end, you forget the very beginning, which could have been, 6 months ago, a year ago, 2 years ago. Some change initiatives take that amount of time. You're going to forget all of that stuff at the very beginning. So, and during that assessment time, it's not the only time you can put down on paper what the feedback you got, or there was a particular thing that happened during a facilitation session that happened. And, if you feel that was very important, get it down on the document right away. You can go back and clean it up during your phase gate assessment review time. You can go and clean all of that up, but get it down, importantly, at the moment that it happens, and that, or once you got that feedback, even if it was in the hallway, go ahead and get it on the paper. You can clean it up and make it look very formal. And then at the end, when you're doing all the cleanup work and making sure your requirements documents are all in place and are exactly what they were, your solution validation is being done, and that you can look at right back to your business analysis plan, make any changes to that and look at your review, your performance review, and that. And even in that performance review document, I would have a final area for each key performance indicator, each thing that you're looking at, and put, what will I do? What are the areas of improvement? What do I plan to do next time to improve on this particular thing? So there are all kinds of things you can put in that template and that. And if you are in a centralized team, this is where you can take a leadership role and asking other business analysts to get with you and come with you together, develop what that template is for a business analysis performance review. See what's really important, and that get together the entire team, and then it's more likely to become a standard within your organization as to, this is the template we use, and everybody should be doing performance review of you individually, and that even if your organization does it. And I've seen many organizations, this is one area that they really miss, and they don't have any kind of formalized things, or they may look at standards and make sure that you're performing to standards and that kind of thing. But capturing all of the feedback in that, and capturing timeliness of your tasks and other things they may not do, very formally, and for every individual business analyst. So even if they do have, some kind of performance and review, it's probably at a very higher level in that. You can get down to the detail level, which will help you perform better next time, and look at the way you perform at the micro level. Each individual task that you were to perform, each individual technique that you used, was it good? Was it appropriate at the time? What did your stakeholders think about it? So there's some things to think about. And if you ever want to talk about this topic, you can come to a Bluegrass IIBA chapter event. Feel free to catch me aside and let's talk about this. You can also reach out in email, and I will be glad to answer. We certainly hope to see you at events in the future. I will be glad to talk about performance monitoring, business analysis planning, requirements management, or anything. It doesn't have to be project related. Business analysts do more things than just project work. So I hope you found this useful, and start making your template as to what are those key performance indicators, and look at ways that you can improve. And like I said, continuous improvement should always be a goal of every business analyst, practitioner out there. You should always be looking, no matter, like I said, 17 years of business analysis experience, I still do this, and I still am looking ways to perform better in that, because I'm always working with different stakeholders and going into new areas of the organization that I haven't worked with. There are still business teams and support teams in that within our organization that I have not yet worked for. I will with them someday, perhaps, and it's a whole new group of stakeholders that I will have to learn how to work with, and learn how they want me to operate, and that what they feel are good and not, and understanding my past work, and that helps me work better with newer stakeholders, and that ones that I've not yet worked with, and that. So again, continuous improvement, always important. You should always be doing it. The way you do that is monitoring your work, looking for ways to improve, and don't just leave that in your head. Get it on paper, because then it's always there, and you could go look at something you did 5 years ago, 2 years ago, and look at that, oh yes, I remember, and it may jog the memories to make your performance tomorrow better than it was today or yesterday. So again, thank you very much for listening. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you found it useful. I hope you get something out of this that makes your performance in the future better. So again, feel free to look me up, and I will be happy to discuss more with you. Best of luck and best of wishes for your future endeavors as a business analyst. Thank you.